Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Samantha. I typically talk about rescuing things and reselling them online for a profit, but today's video is extremely different from any I have made before, and I'm just really excited to share these tips with you guys. I'm going to be talking about using a water bath to can tomatoes and kind of a little bit of the benefits that it has. I had a garden this year and I've been sharing on Instagram my successes with it and tips and tricks over it. I also share other motivation as well as how to make money. If you didn't catch when I said I resell things online, I'm a nurse, mommy, dog mommy. I do so many things, but I'm here to inspire you guys. So if you haven't, make sure you go over to my Instagram and follow there. I share daily typically, and I feel like I could help you if you are trying to achieve more out of life, but you're just not sure what you want to do yet. That's kind of where I was, and I just decided one day to take initiative and get started on everything. Hence why I'm going to do this video over canning. I've never done a video like this. I do gardening as a hobby, but I grew up on a farm. My mom taught me how to can, my grandma, so I know from them, as well as what I've learned online on YouTube, listening to other people, and really asking in person, like at farmers markets and stuff like that. So I've gained a wealth of knowledge, and I just really want to put back to the community and share it with you guys. Make sure if you haven't, like this video, share it, subscribe. It helps me so much, and I appreciate you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to talk about what you'll need first. To get started, I'm going to be using a pink Himalayan salt. I wanted to use something other than the pickling salt that they say you can use. You can definitely use that. If you are going to use a different type of salt, make sure in the ingredients, the only ingredient is actually salt, because they do salt with like a bicarbonate or something else, and you want a fine grain with only ingredient being salt, and this is a pink Himalayan salt again. I'm going to be using citric acid. Citric acid is great. I'll put just a little bit in the bottom of each of my canning jars, and this will help prevent botulism. And why that is because the spores of botulism don't like acid, and citric acid kind of creates more of an acidic base in your jars for you, so it helps prevent getting botulism or other spores that might be growing. I also have lids. I have lids in 2 different sizes because some of the rims are smaller. I've got lid covers. You can reuse these lid covers, but you cannot reuse these type of lids just because of the sealing. It seals a lip, so the sealing of it, I should say, because you're probably like looking up at the ceiling now, like the ceiling, what's wrong with, no, I'm just joking. You also need this like rim thing. What's great about it is it just puts in the top of your jar, and you can shove the tomatoes in it, and it doesn't get any tomato juice around the rim, because if you get anything around this rim, it could create an issue with sealing at the end, and then you could create botulism or other kind of contamination, or it just won't seal at the end as well. So again, this, you shove your potatoes. Shove your tomatoes through that hole, and that's how you will can it. I've got also a wooden and plastic spoon. It's great because after your jars are hot, you're not going to want to touch it with a metal, otherwise it could bust. So yeah, I have this to pull out my tomatoes so that I don't burn my hands, and it's going to go into this ice bath over here. The ice bath, again, is going to be for after I put the tomatoes in here for 45 seconds. You don't want to go longer than 45 seconds because the tomato is going to start cooking. So only 45 seconds max. You can take them out sooner. As soon as you start seeing the skins kind of wrinkle, that's when you know it's time to take them out. This guy is going to be for later after you start the water bath, so you can take the cans out of the water bath without burning your hands. So that's a good tool to have. And again, I have my ice water, my hot boiling water to put the tomatoes in. I have 2 sinks full of tomatoes right now, and over here, let me turn this just a smidge so you can see. Over here I have basil, And the basil is fresh from my garden too. I cut off a stalk, peeled off all the leaves, and I washed them really good. You're gonna want to wash everything and rinse it really good so that it doesn't have any germs, any bacteria, anything from the garden get into your canning jars. And I basically just laid a piece of paper towel over the top and kind of dabbed it so I could dry those leaves, and I let them kind of air dry after that. I can reuse these now for cleaning or anything later because it's just water. But yeah, my leaves are good to go. I like to rinse them off and then dab them dry so they don't end up like this little shriveled up little guy. Clearly I didn't get the water off of him that great, but that's okay because he'll still be used. You'll also want to wash your hands. I started by washing my hands and getting those really good and clean. And before I laid out any of this, I went ahead and cleaned my working station. So I got that good and cleaned and wiped down with some all-natural product so that all of this is clean and ready to go. Now, why I started canning was basically because in today's society, it's focused on fast food, fast life, fast-paced, you know, and food isn't really fast. It takes time to plant, to grow, to harvest, and you know, if you take care of it and feed your garden what it needs, it's gonna feed you in turn great nutrients. It's gonna taste better, and the reason why that is because when they have crops and stuff, they don't take the time to fertilize it like it should and give it the nutrients and minerals that it needs to really give you the full flavor that your own garden could give you. I compost my stuff too, so anything that I don't use minus meat and dairy goes into a compost, and I feed it back to my garden so that it can get the nutrients without having to pay for expensive fertilizer and stuff. Not to say I don't use any fertilizer, but I try to limit what I use at the store just because I know what I put in my fertilizer. I know what I broke down and what I'm going to be feeding my garden. Theirs, I don't know so much what's in it. And that's the same with fresh fruit and fresh vegetables. You know what you did to make them. You know what you put on them to protect them, which I didn't use any kind of harsh chemicals, no bug sprays, nothing like that. I just planted certain flowers and stuff together so that it would be a natural repellent, and also promoted like praying mantis and other things to kind of live in that area. So I didn't have an issue this year with bugs. Thank you. But yeah, so no harmful pesticides in mine. I know that for sure. And when I'm eating, I know what I'm going to be feeding my body. So that's a great thing. But when you go to a store, you don't always know what they're putting in it. You don't always know how they're growing it. Did they pick the tomato off it and make it ripe in, you know, the store versus letting it ripen on the vine? Those things all come into play with the nutritional value as well as what it's going to taste like for you. And that's why I wanted to get into canning. So without further ado, let me go ahead and start canning for you guys. So let me go ahead and start by saying, before I show you guys, I am not an expert. I just do this again as a hobby. I did it growing up on the farm. Please do your own research and make sure that you are looking up things and checking for yourself. Don't just take my word for it. I just want to give you a little bit of motivation. Maybe you've been pondering the idea, but you haven't really gotten started. So that's just why I'm here today, to share a little bit into my life and why I'm gardening and why I'm canning, and show you how easy it can be and how fun it can be. It is tedious, but when things are easy in life, it kind of makes it not as fun, I find. So good reward after all of that. But yeah, let's get started. I'm going to start by putting just a little bit of citric acid into each of these jars. You can find recipes online for how much of each you should use for the jars, because these are huge ones. You can get small quart, you know, in all kinds of different sizes of jars. These ones I got were really big because I have really big tomatoes right now to put in them. I'm going to be making salsas and stuff, so with the salsas, I will more than likely use smaller jars. Okay, so the citric acid's in all of those. have to grab a knife. So something you can do is score the tomatoes, use the back of the knife, because all you want to do is peel just the very fine top layer of the tomato and just create like a little X. You don't really want to cut the tomato. So you create the X with just the layer of the tomato. Drop it in. Put it in a cool bath. And after having it in the cool bath, you'll just peel back the skin. And it's just that easy. Now I'm going to do this for all of them, and I'm going to come back and show you. Alright guys, so now that I have a few peeled, I am going to go ahead and just kind of cut them just a little bit to get them inside the jar here. Again, I have this in here to keep anything away from the rim. You do not want to get anything touching that rim. I have also cut off the ends of them. These are extremely juicy. So as I'm going through, I just want them to get down in there and packed really good. So I'm going to use this to kind of try and pack all the air. You don't want any air in the jars. There is other ways you can the tomatoes. This is just the way I just saw the MI gardener do it. I'm gonna put a piece of basil. And what's awesome about it is since you're canning instead of freezing, it actually will stay green. So as you're doing this, again, the important thing is to make sure there is no air. No pocket of hole, no pocket in there between the tomatoes. I'm gonna put a couple more pieces of basil. And again, it's just for taste and flavoring. It's not necessarily for anything other than that. And you're gonna wanna save about a 1/2 inch up to the rim. So up here, about a 1/2 inch for the seal to create. I think that'll probably do it. Nope. I think I did the perfect amount of tomatoes. I'm only gonna use 1/2 though, just to make sure I don't overfeel it. Okay. All right, that works perfect. So now I just want to use just a little bit of salt for flavoring. You can measure. I don't typically measure. Just a little bit. I don't use very much. I like to keep it as less salt as possible in my cooking so that it is more healthy for you. And after that, you will just knock it down without touching the side there. Get your lid. And a smaller lid here. And you'll just put the lid on. And screw it on a cap so that the lid just stays in place. Good, and screwed on. And you will put it in a water bath. So I'm not going to take the time to show you that process today, simply because it takes a good while to heat up the water, and then after that it takes a good while, about 45 minutes or so, of boiling over the tops of them to create a good seal. So yeah, now I am going to finish all the rest of them and get these ready to go. I'm going to get them in my water bath and cooking. What you're going to want to do is let the water be over the top of them for 45 minutes. And after that, you don't want to disturb this top at all. You're going to want to wait until it pops up. After it pops up, you can actually remove the rim. You don't need the rim anymore. And once you remove the rim, what's great about that is you can actually see better if, you know, botulism has occurred, because the top will actually seep open, and you won't have a pop when you take off just the rim. I mean, just the little topper here. So make sure you never eat anything if the seal was broken, because if the seal was broken, there's no way to determine if it's healthy or not for you to eat. So after you know, cook it, or not cook it, but you boil it and put it on the shelf after it's cooled, and months down the line, if it doesn't pop when you remove the seal, don't eat it. So I'm going to get started with that. I'm going to test a few out this time with some garlic cloves and some other things and see how that goes. If you'd like me to do a video over using one of these in some kind of recipe, just drop that in the comments below. Or if you have something that you might want me to make a video over, drop that down there too. I appreciate you guys for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe before you leave. And I hope that everybody has a wonderful day. Thank you so much.